Hey everybody, my name is Dave. I am an alcoholic. I wanted to share something that was a crucial part of my recovery. Not just the recovery of alcohol, right? So quitting drinking, that was the easy part for me in my journey with what I had experienced. That was the easy part. I know for some people it's not always the case, but for me, quitting drinking was easy. Living life without drinking was difficult. That's the real challenge for me. It was like going back out into the world and doing all the things that I had been doing and finding joy and finding love and being of service to people. I didn't even know about service in the beginning. I had no idea. I had no idea the program of AA was going to become, 50 to 60 to 70% service down the road after I was cured and healed. Well, I wouldn't say cured. After I was healed from alcoholism. We never really cure it, but we live recovered. And we can count on recovery. We can count on a great way of life. That's what I got in my recovery. And the thing that made the difference was where it says in the big book, we are now on a different basis. We are on the basis of trusting and relying upon God. We trust infinite God rather than our finite selves. That's what was important for me. And I remember I got the idea in an AA meeting, the very first AA meeting that I started going to every single week. It was on Monday night at 6 o'clock in a little town in Florida, in an old Methodist church that the floor was kind of crooked. The building was starting to sink and move. But it was just such a great meeting. We would have 20, 25, 30 people in this little meeting in this small church at 6 o'clock every Monday. And I remember the lady that gave me the idea, she was told by her sponsor. Now, she had 28 years at the time. 28 years. And she still has a sponsor. And she's still getting tips from that sponsor of things to do, things to stay engaged. Because in the program of AA, we always have to stay engaged. Our life depends on engagement in the program. And it doesn't just rely on one thing. It's we have to stay up on our own studies. We have to sponsor somebody. We have to talk to people. We have to share our experience with somebody. Because that's what makes the difference in our lives. So for me, I was into picking up every possible bit of knowledge and information because I wanted to be cured. I wanted it. And how it works where it says, if you want what we've got and you're willing to go to any length to get it, you are ready to take certain steps. And I had that. I made the decision that I was going to quit drinking, that I was going to become recovered, and I was going to live a great life. I just didn't know how to do it. I knew what I wanted. I wanted the good life. I wanted the life that I saw other people experiencing. I wanted that, but I didn't know how to get it. So I watched every single person who had any kind of time put together, and I would take their ideas. And this lady was telling about how her sponsor told her over the summer that she needs to read this one paragraph on one page and then go to this other paragraph, which talks about how we are now on a spiritual basis, the basis of trusting and relying upon God, that we trust in infinite God rather than our finite selves. And her sponsor told her to read that every day, morning and evening, for 3 months. So I said, I'm going to do that. If that's good for her, that's good for me. And you know what? It had powerful effect. Had a powerful effect on my sobriety. And the other thing that I did is right in the beginning of the program, somebody told me, read the 3rd step prayer, have it written out, write it out with your own penmanship, put it next to your bed, and when you wake up in the morning, the first thing you do is you grab it and you read it. And then before you go to bed, last thing at night, before you go to bed, you grab it and you read it, and you do that for 2 weeks. So you're doing 14 days, morning and night, you're reading the 3rd step prayer. These little things have a profound impact on our recovery. They have a profound impact because we're continuously staying engaged in the program of Alcoholics Anonymous. As soon as you become disconnected from it, as soon as you stop thinking about it and stop thinking about the program, that's where all the bad thoughts, that's where the devil, if you want to call it, the devil can creep into your thinking, and he can start to take control, and he can start to let thoughts, right? Thoughts will get into your head and that will say, well, maybe you're really not an alcoholic. Maybe you really could drink. This is so important. I've seen these types of thoughts affect people who were 20 years in the program. Like they've been executing for 20 years on the 12 steps of Alcoholics Anonymous, going to meetings in the fellowship. And some voice gets inside their head that tells them that maybe they're not an alcoholic and maybe I could drink. Or you get what they call a case of the fuck it's. You're like, fuck it, I'm just going to drink. Something is causing you unhappiness in your life. And for whatever reason, you just decide that you're going to go after this. You're going to go out and drink. But what's at the base of every one of the stories, every person I've talked to so many people that have gone out of the program after having a significant amount of time. The one thing that I hear in every case, somewhere in their lives, was complacency. And this is something that's not just AA. It's not only AA. In life, when we get complacent, we start to lose things. You know, we don't keep up on our chops. We don't keep up on our exercise. Our health gets poor. We don't watch our money and we start to get careless with how we spend and the things that we do with our money. And we start to lose wealth, or we get careless in our relationships or our marriage, you know, and we start to get complacent. We stop caring as much. We stop doing the little things. And anyone who's ever been in love or been married knows that the little things in a relationship are what the foundation that it's built upon, right? So when you get complacent, that relationship, it starts to lose its energy. And once it starts to lose its energy, then it gets dull and it gets boring and it gets tiresome and it feels like it's more work than it's worth. You know, these are the things that happen to us. And the same thing can happen in a program of recovery in Alcoholics Anonymous. So I always share stories of what I hear, of what I've learned in the program. I share it with you because I don't know where you are in your journey right now. I don't know how many years you've got or how many days or months or whatever you've got, but keep at the front of your mind that complacency is something that will affect you in every area of your life, including and most of all, the program of recovery, which is something that will kill you if you get complacent with it and you decide to not take it as seriously as it needs to be taken. You know, that's the deal. And, you know, I hear these stories of people how, you know, they put 5 years together or 10 years together and they go out of the program. Complacency. So the one thing I tell people is look to renew your energy within the program every single day. And what does that mean? How do we renew our energy? We meet new people. For me, I'll tell you my experiences. I like to get in the car and I like to go to a meeting where I've never been before. That's one thing that revitalizes my energy, is to just go out to a meeting where I don't know anybody and just be brand new there. You know, just meet brand new people. Get a feel for brand new people. Talk to them. See how they're doing. Offer help if you can. Support a different group. All of these groups need support. They all need people. So for me, variety is a huge thing. Going to a range of different meetings. You know, I have a clubhouse that I belong to, and I go to a couple different meeting times. Each of the groups in the clubhouse have a daily meeting time. But I like to go to different clubhouses, and I like to go to different meetings. And, you know, I think back in my life to all the times of, you know, things that I had lost. And it's where the variety leaves my life. Where there's not that spice anymore. I know in life that everything gets, it loses its thrill. You start out when they say in the beginning, everybody's hot, everybody's on fire. But then after a couple days or a couple weeks, that thrill starts to wear down. It starts to go away. You got to find ways to reinvent yourself. You got to find new groups for study. You got to find different ways to look for things and people in your life. Because the one thing that we do have to hold on to if we're going to succeed in the program of Alcoholics Anonymous and become recovered and embrace the power of recovery, the thing that we need to look at is we never need to let go of that bite. We always got to keep our bite. And when I say bite, I mean that feeling that you first had. If you want what we've got and you're willing to go to any length to get it. A lot of us come into the program brand new. We're like, I want this. But then a couple of days goes by and it's not that thrilling anymore. And we're not reinventing ourselves and we've already given up. And once that happens, then you stop doing the work and the work becomes hard. So you need a sponsor right away in the beginning. And you need sober friends who are there that you engage with. You need to not spend much time by yourself in the beginning. Because most of us are isolators. Most of us have been used to living a life for many years where we're in a pattern or a condition where we want to isolate. But that isolation is what kills us. It makes us feel disconnected from the whole, from the world, from the group. Every time we isolate, we want to go by ourselves, and then we get inside of our head and we start thinking our thoughts, the same thoughts that got us into trouble in the first place. And I remember that's where I was way back in the year 2000 when I was having a lot of problems with alcohol. I was drinking because I didn't have any friends. And back then, I knew I had a problem, even way back then. I knew I had a problem. I just was bored and I didn't know what else to do. And then the friends that I did have, even worse, the friends that I did have, they all drank. So then we would go out and all kinds of trouble would get started. I remember back then, 1997, I got my first DUI, and the worst thing in the world happened to me is I got off of the DUI on a reckless, and I thought I beat the system. Right? As soon as you think you beat the system and you outsmarted somebody, but I didn't outsmart anybody. I didn't outsmart the system. I only outsmarted myself. I thought I got away with something because I was like, haha, they tried to give me a DUI and I got a reckless. And I thought I got away with something. I was still hurting inside. I was headed for trouble down the road. I was driving a car toward a cliff that I didn't even know a cliff was coming up. And I'm headed for this cliff. And, I'm at the wheel of the car not even knowing that there is a huge fall coming up for me where I'm going to go over the edge of this cliff and die. That's what was waiting for me. So I feel like I got a second chance because God tapped me on the shoulder and He shook me and said, wake up. And at the last minute, I took the wheel and I turned the car. And that's my second chance. That's how I got blessed in the program of recovery. And now I feel it's my duty to live a great life because I have this great gift of sobriety. That I've learned how to live a sober life and enjoy it way more than the life I was living before, the life of drugs and drinking and misery. That was just a miserable life that I was fooled into thinking was fun because of a buzz, right? The buzz controlled my life. I had to constantly get out of being normal, the person that I really was. That was the reason for me. That was why I did what I did, was because I wanted to keep this buzz going that didn't allow me to be normal, to embrace who I was, to connect to a power greater than myself, to connect to a group of people that were greater than myself. This group that we're a part of in AA is greater than any one person. It connects to God and it connects all of us. And the group is more important than anything else. So I got my second chance, and I try to tell as many people as I can about it's not even about that quitting drinking is the right thing to do. I mean, it is. But what people miss is the fact that the program of Alcoholics Anonymous is an amazing life where you have money and health and people, and your relationships are fulfilling. They're not like these empty relationships that I used to cultivate at the bar with a bunch of people who I thought were my friends, who the second I left, they didn't give a shit about me. Never heard from them again. Unless I drank or was there to give them something, or buy them something, or for me, I was there to get something from them. That's an empty relationship. A true relationship is one where you want to give. And you don't care about the return because you're living a beautiful life. And you don't care what you don't have to get paid to do it, to have a great relationship. That's the beauty of AA. That's what we have there. And I try to tell people that because I see people who scoff at it and they think it won't work for them and they don't want anything to do with it and they think it's a cult and all these things that they've made up in their head that of what it is before they actually even went to see what it is, to experience it for themselves, to say, hey, let me go to one meeting or two meetings or try it for a month. Let me go there and see what it's really like for myself before I make a decision. But they make the decision before they even go. And this was my experience. I had, in the beginning, before I had gotten into AA, I could have had 2 extra years on my sobriety time. I could have had 8 years now instead of 6 if I had just gone to see earlier what it was like. But I had in my head a belief that this is what it's going to be, that I'm going to be a miserable person. I have to quit drinking. I have to be boring and all these different things that are not true. But see, what we do in our minds is called belief. The stories that we make up, that we tell ourselves are beliefs. And in the Bible, Jesus said, by your belief, it is done unto you. Actually said, by your faith, it is done unto you. But your faith is a part of your belief. Your beliefs are your faith. So if you believe that this program will work for you, and you believe that it will give you a good life, and you believe that you can do it, that you have confidence, courage, and power within you, that your past won't define you, that you can build a new future that is completely separate from your past. And if you work out that past, that you will become a new and better person. If you believe all of those things, those positive ideas that are going to take place in you, then you've got the belief, and then it will be done that way unto you. But if you believe that it don't work and you're negative and you can't embrace any optimism in your life and you just can't see how it'll work for you, then it'll never work for you. So in the program, we teach to become willing. Right? It's just as simple as that. To just open your mind and to become willing and to listen to other people and not say that they're different and it worked for them, but it can't work for me. Because the second we say that, we're not willing. To become willing means, hey, I'm going to go all in and give this thing my all. That's what it means to become willing. And I'm going to listen to what other people did. And I'm going to try it for myself. That's what it means to become willing. It means to take responsibility for your life. I've seen people lose it all. I've seen a mother who all she wanted was her children, and she lost them and still continued to drink and would drink. Like, how can you consider yourself a responsible parent if all you do is drink, right? And you know that there's a solution available, but you just don't want to change your ways. See, those are the kinds of things that we learn how to change. That's what I had to change in myself. That's what I had to change. I had to change my behavior to match what I wanted to be. Because I wanted to live as a healthy person and not feel sick all the time, which I was very sick all the time. but I continued to drink. And then asked myself, why do I feel so sick? Why do I feel so hungover the next day, the next morning after I drink? And the obvious answer was because the alcohol is killing you. But I would continue to do it the next night, and then the next day say, why am I so sick? It's insanity, right? The definition of insanity is when you do the same thing over and over again and you expect a different result. And I've witnessed a lot of insane people in my life, including myself. But when a hand is there to help you, you need to grab that hand. And that's what it means to become willing. So I hope this video helped. Remember, trusting and relying upon God. That's a principle of AA, right? Becoming willing. That's a principle of AA. Taking responsibility for your life and engaging in a program that maybe is uncomfortable for you at first, but understanding that down the road it's going to be the greatest thing you've ever done. Taking that responsibility, that's a principle of AA. So these principles can all be used in your life. They can be used by anybody. You don't have to be a genius. You don't have to be tall or short or any type of a person. It doesn't matter who you are. Male, female, it doesn't matter. Anyone can engage in the principles within the 12 steps and live a great life that is even better than any life they've already lived. It can happen for you. It happened for me. Trust me when I say if I can do it, anybody can do it. Because I don't believe myself to be smart or special or anything different from anybody else. All I did was executed to the best of my ability and went all in 100% and made a decision that I was going to do it and there was nothing that was going to stop me. So the last principle is, if you want what we've got and you're willing to go to any length to get it, trust me when I say, nothing can stop you.